right. So we are reviewing for tomorrow's test that I have only been telling you about for, I don't know, 3 weeks. Anywho, so we're going to go over last night's homework, which was the multiples of 3, which will probably hit on maybe one of each problem. So let's see. Number 3. You have to simplify this thing. You're not allowed to leave square roots in the denominator. I is just a square root, right? So how do I get rid of it? By what? Yes, by I over I. You can multiply by 2i over 2i if you want to make your life more difficult. The 2 is not the problem. It's the I that's the problem. So I multiply straight across. I get 5i. And in the denominator, I get 2i squared. However, what's I squared really? -1. Every time you see an I squared, you change it to -1. So this now reads 5i over 2 times -1. So my final answer, when I write this all nice and neat, is going to be 5i over -2. That's it. Now, real quick, I know this wasn't a multiple of 3, but how would I attack number 4? Because this one, you can't just multiply by I over I. Oh, you're close. Yeah, you got to multiply by the conjugate. So when you have a binomial, you got to change the sign in the middle. So you'd be multiplying by 2 minus I over 2 minus I. So I'm not going to do it out, but that is when you FOIL that denominator, the i's are going to cancel out and then you won't have the I downstairs anymore. Hooray. All right, now we're going to jump to number 6. So this section asks you to find all of the zeros. You can do this by square rooting, factoring, completing the square, or quadratic formula. Now, let me tell you exactly what the directions are on the test tomorrow. You have 6 questions. No, 8. Sorry. There are 8 questions where you have to solve a quadratic. And I say to you, out of those 8, you have to pick at least one of them to solve in each of the 4 methods. I don't care which one. So one of them has to be solved by square rooting. One of them has to be solved by factoring. One has to be quadratic formula. And one has to be completing the square. You get to pick which you do which way, but you have to show me one of each of the 4. You follow me? The other 4, you can do whatever you want. Make sense? So, if I'm looking at number 6, I am, remember that when you are finding zeros, you're just replacing y, in this case f of x, that just becomes a 0. So that's just a 0, no big deal. I am going to try and factor this and see if it is factorable. So how do I do that? I do a times c, 3 times 16. That gets me 48. So I'm just going to spend a minute and see if I can find factors of 48 that have to be 16. And you know what? I'm not sure that there are any. Oh, 4 and 12? Well, there we go. All right, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to do slide and divide. So I did the slide part. Now I'm going to factor x plus 12, x plus 4. And now, because I did the slide, now I do the divide. Again, if you are, this is factoring when a is not 1. So you could have done it any of the different ways that we've talked about. This doesn't factor, so this becomes 3x plus 4. So when I'm solving, when I'm finding a 0, I have to go all the way to the end. I want x equals, what are the numbers? One of them is going to be a -4. One of them, if I minus 4 divided by 3, I'd get a -4/3 right there. And there are my 2 answers. If I want to check my answer, I can. I go back to the original. 3 times -4 squared would be 16, plus 16 times a -4, plus 16. Gets me 0, so I know that works. You have a calculator, so if you want to take the time to plug in -4/3, you could. I'm not going to bother. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Is that all right? Okay. Number 9 then. So this one, just to show a different method, I don't know if this one factors or not, but why don't I do a quadratic formula on this one? So can you write down the quadratic formula from your brain? Do you still know it?
Yes.
Write it, try it. So there it is. I hope that yours matches mine. When you're doing quad formula, make sure that you're starting with it in standard form. So I'm sure that I have the right A, B, and C. So there's my pieces. And now I'm just going to plug them in and evaluate correctly. Negative B is now going to be a positive 13, plus minus big old square root. 13 squared is 169, minus 4 times A is 3 times C is -10. All over 2 times A is going to get me 6. I talked about this on your most recent quiz. This was a common mistake. I draw this little box. I usually don't actually draw it. I draw it in my head, but whatever. And then bless you, I'm just going to multiply the 3 numbers in that box. -4 times 3 times -10. Isn't that a positive number? I guarantee you, if you did this problem with quadratic formula, there's going to be some of you that have a minus there when it should be a plus. So what is that? 12 times 10 is 120. So it should be a plus 120. Not a minus, a plus. So now I'm here. I can add 169 and 20 is 289. By the way, this came up on the quiz. Check that number, see if it's a perfect square before you start breaking it up. I actually think it is. Square root of 289 is just 17. So it's going to save you a lot of time. So just check real quick if that thing is a perfect square. If it's not, that's when you look for a number in that list of perfect squares that divides in and you simplify it. But we got lucky this time. Square root of 289 is just 17. So now I'm here. 13 plus minus 17 over 6. But you can actually do this, so you should. 13 plus 17 is what? 30 over 6 is 5. So one of my answers is 5, and the other would be 13 minus 17, -4 over 6 is a -2/3. Ta-da! And there you have it. So there is solving with quadratic formula. Since this is a review video, would you like me to do one with completing the square? I thought you might. 10 would actually be a great one to do completing the square. Why is 10 so good for completing the square? That's a great question. It's because A is 1 and B is even. That's when completing the square is easy. So first step for completing the square, remember that's just a 0. You're just going to move the constant to the other side. And first of all, I like my equal 0 on this side, not that side. It drives me crazy. So I'm going to add the 10 over to this side. So I'm looking at this, x squared plus 8x, leave a space, and I'm going to add 10 to the other side. Oh, sorry. We'll get there. There we are. Now it's time for the magic number. How do you find the magic number? You got it. I need half of this number. So 4, and then I need to square that number. So it's a 2-step process. So 16 will be my magic number that I add to both sides. On the right, I just get 26. On the left, I'm just going to factor that thing. What are factors of 16? That has to be 8. 4 and 4. So I write it as x plus 4 squared. I don't write it as x plus 4 times x plus 4. I always write it like that. And now I'm ready to Square root both sides. What do I need to remember? Plus minus. And then I need to ask myself if the square root of 26 simplifies. So are there any perfect squares that go into 26? Remember what the perfect squares are. 4, 9, 16. Divides into. Someone was doing adds. You can't do adds. You gotta divide into 26. No, there are no perfect squares that divide into 26. I know 2 times 13 is 26, but 2 is not a perfect square and 13 is not a perfect square. So you're not getting yourself anywhere by doing that. That's as far as you can go with this chunk right here. That doesn't simplify anymore. So the only thing I have left to do is just minus 4 from both sides. And try and get in the habit of sticking that number up in front. So you have -4 plus minus square root 26. That's your 2 answers right there. Yep. Sure. So let's see if any of these, when I make the practice quiz, I usually, oh, here, perfect. If we jump, the only ones that you could do solving by square rooting are 15 and 16. So I'll do them both because they're super fast. So just replace your f of x with a 0. So if I'm going to solve this one by square rooting, I literally just want to get the x squared by itself. So let's add the 16 to the other side. And then I just take the square root of both sides. What's the square root of 16? 4. Plus and minus 4, friends. Every single quadratic has to have 2 answers. All of them. Sometimes you get the same answer twice, but that's not the case here. I didn't get 4 2 times. I got a +4 and you get a -4. So if you're solving and before you turn in your test, a quick thing that you should be checking is that every single one has 2 answers. Because you're going to lose points every time you're missing that. So anyway, there's the 2. The other one that I would solve by square rooting is number 16. So replace this with a 0. And doesn't this feel exactly like a step in completing the square? It's almost the same thing. Once I add the 1 to the other side, I'm here. And then just like in completing the square, at this step, I take the square root of both sides. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. Square root of u, square root of u. What's the square root of 1? What? Plus and minus 1, friends. Oh, don't forget, every time you take a square root, you got to remember both roots. And then all I have to do is minus the 5. So I have -5 plus and minus 1, which I can do. So I need to do that. If you leave your answer like that, I'm probably going to take off half a point. You're not done. -5 plus 1 is -4. -5 minus 1 is a -6. There's my 2 answers.
If you leave it like that, if there's like the square root.
A square root, then you leave it because you can't go any further.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted like the positive and the negative. Like.
Well, you have, so if we go back to our answer to 10, you do have 2, oh, hold on. There it is.
Yeah, would you want that like done or can you put it
No,
just
you
like
leave it just like that.
that? Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want you to turn into a decimal. So.
No, I'm just saying, would you want it as -4 plus the square root of 20 and -4?
Oh, I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, you can,
You just want it done
either
like
way.
they're even.
Yes. As long as there are 2 answers somewhere. So that does count as 2 answers, or you can physically write them separately, whichever is your preference. Okay, so there's solving each of the 4 ways that we have learned. So again, out of the 8 total solving, there is just 8, right? Let me make sure that I'm not lying to you, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. Yeah, there's 8. So yeah, you got to solve one of them each of the 4 ways that we know. And then the other 4, you could do the other 4 all the same way if you want. I don't care. Does that make sense? What happens if you only do 3? I'm going to minus 2 for every, it's like if you never do a completing the square, you would lose 2 points. So it's not like you're going to fail everything, but Why lose points? You don't have to. All right, the next one you would have had to have done. Oh, I did 15. Okay, perfect. And the next multiple of 3 is 18. So 18, I ask you to tell me what the vertex is and the axis of symmetry, and you got to graph it. Okay, cool. Well, to find the vertex, how do you do that? Yep, negative b over 2a, our old friend. So that's going to be a positive 12 over 2 times 1 is just 2. So is my answer just 6? No, silly gooses. It's 6 comma something. We got to figure out the something. So I take 6, and remember, I'm plugging it right back into the original. So I'm doing 6 squared minus 12 times 6 plus 33. I'm going to grab a calculator and ask it to do the work for me because I'm lazy. I like that. I got a negative 3. Did you?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So 6 negative 3. There it is. So you have now identified the vertex. Where would the axis of symmetry be? Say it again. How do I write it? Do I just write 6?
X equals.
You have to write x equals 6. You have to put x equals, and it's always just your x coordinate of the vertex. Why? Because you're writing the equation of this line, and the equation of a vertical line is x equals whatever it is. All right, cool. So there's the 2 things that I needed. The only other thing that I'm asking for is to graph this. You can absolutely use the pattern. Do you remember it? From this point, where do I go?
Up 1 over
Up 1 over 1. And then from that point, I go up.
3.
Yes, 1, 2, 3 over 1. So the pattern is just up 1, up 3, up 5, up 7. If you want to keep going, you just go up the odds. Okay, and connect with a nice smooth curve. This is not an inequality, but if it were, right, if that were some inequality symbol, I'd have to consider dotted or solid and then shading. Do I have an inequality on here? I do. So just be mindful of that. On oh, there's one on here too. On the actual test, there's one.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this. I was like, where?
Okay, so there's that. Let's do one in Vertex Form 2. Is there one on here? An inequality.
No, I was saying that's why when you said there is one on here, I was.
Oh,
confused because you were talking
oh.
about the test, and I was like, wait a minute.
Let's turn number 20 into one. Let's make this just turn that into a.
Yeah.
So let's graph number 20 together, and then we have an example of one graph in vertex form, and that's an inequality. So we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone, which is a horrible expression, but anyway. So how do I graph this thing? Where do I still want to find my vertex first, but how do I do that? Yes. So vertex, remember, when it's in vertex form, my life is so easy. It's just the opposite of this number, comma, this number. Right? So wouldn't my vertex be at 4, comma 4? Yeah, you guys with me? So 4, comma 4. All right, great. I don't know if I asked for axis of symmetry, but if I do, again, you would just do x equals whatever this number is. So it just so happens to be a 4. All right, great. So now I need to do the graphing. A is -1 this time. So I'm going to take my 1, 3, and 5. Whatever A is, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a half, if it's 10, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to take whatever A is, and I'm going to multiply 1, 3, 5 by whatever A is. So I just get -1, -3, -5. So that's where I'm going. So from my first dot, I'm going to go down 1 over 1. Then to the next point, I'm going to go down. Oh, let me do my axis of symmetry. Sorry. I go down 3. 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I can go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1 more. and just mirror all these points over. So the only difference now that I've turned this thing into an inequality, I gotta ask, solid or dotted? Solid, and this particular one would be shaded which way?
Outside.
Like up here? Yes, y is greater than, so I want to shade above this line, which is everything on the outside of this parabola. If you're not sure, you can always double check with a point. Take any point that you have shaded over, like 0, 0, and it should work. If I plug in 0, does it actually check? And yes, it does. I'd get 0 would be greater than or equal to 0. So yeah, that works fine. Oh wait, no, I don't. I'd get 0 is greater than or equal to, because that would be, if I plug in the 0 there, that'd be -16 plus 4 is a -12, but still true, right? 0 is greater than -12. So I know I shaded the right side of the graph. Yes. Okay, so there's everything with graphing. Now we're going to jump to 21, the next one you had to do. I'm writing the equation of the parabola this time. Do you remember how? Okay, so it says in vertex form. So you need to remember what vertex form is. It's this one. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. That's vertex form. All I need to write the equation in vertex form are these three numbers. I need a, I need h, I need k. I know two of these numbers already. What two numbers do I already know? H and K. They come from the vertex. That's H, that's K. All right, cool. So what's up with this other point? I have to use this other point to figure out what A is. I don't know what A is right now, but I can figure it out if I plug in H, K, and I'm just going to put this in for the X and the Y. So once I do that, I'll be able to solve for A. So let's see, Y is 4. A is the one I don't know. X is -3. Minus -5 turns into a plus squared, and then K is a +8. So I'm just going to evaluate this. -3 plus 5 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to write that as 4A. And then if I just solve from here, -8 minus 8, -4 equals 4A. So A looks like it's going to be a -1. That makes sense so far? And now all I have to do to get my answer is I literally just go back here and I just plug in A, H, and K. And I'm done. Y equals, now I know A is -1. X minus -5 is a plus. Square it and then +8. Since this is a test, sorry, I highly recommend that you check your answers. It's really not that bad. Just look at your equation and say to yourself, hey self, if I had this equation, where would the vertex be? And then you know to say, oh, it's always the opposite of this number, comma this one. So the vertex of this thing would have been at -5, 8. Oh, that's exactly where they are, -5, 8. Yes. You can super check yourself by plugging in -3 for X and making sure that a +4 comes out for Y. We're okay so far? Everybody all right? 24. There is only one problem where I ask you to do this because they are super annoying. This is where you have to write your 3 equations and solve the 3 system thingy. So I'm just going to go through the sheet of paper because it's never going to fit. All right. So real quick recap on how these go. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. I'm going to take each of these 3 points and I am going to create an equation from them. So let's see. Ooh, that's a big number. That's okay. So my first one is 5, 110. Then I have 0, 50. That 0 might work out to our benefit though. 450. So you remember how to make I'll do the first one out and then the other ones I'll just do the short way. So all of these are an X, all of these are a Y. I'm plugging them in. So
There's a
Y,
short way?
I mean, I just do it in my head.
Oh. Did I miss something?
So there's me plugging in X and Y, and then we clean it up. So you get 110 equals, we write that as 25A plus 5B plus C. I'm just saying I can, if you are comfortable bypassing that middle step, you could do that. Just don't mess it up. So Y is 50, but this time X is 0. So that's interesting because now that's going to turn into my A. This whole term is gone, right? Because it's 0A plus 0B plus C. So I already have an answer for C. This one's a unique one. I'll do another one that's not like this because this is not going to always happen. But anyway, the last one, I'd have 50. That'd be 16A plus 4B plus C. Okay, so see what I mean? This one's super weird because I already know that C is 50, don't I? Because those two are just gone. So I can actually turn this into a 2-variable system real fast because I know that these are just 50s. So I already have my start equations. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but I'll solve it out because you probably did it for homework and I want you to make sure that you got it right. So if C is 50, can I just replace this with a plus 50? Right, same thing down here. That just turns into a plus 50, which means that couldn't I just minus the 50 to the other side? And this equation really turns into 60 equals 25A plus 5B. And this one is just 0 equals 16A plus 4B. Oops, got the A. So I'm already down to a 2-variable system. So now I can just solve this one like I normally do. So I might divide the top one by 5. So that's 12 equals 5A plus B. So that's one simplified one. This one I could divide by 4. 4A plus B. So I'm just going to take the top one as it is, 12 equals 5A plus B. And the bottom one I'll multiply by a -1. So my B's cancel. So now I know that A is 12. I already knew that C was 50. So the only thing left to find is B, which I can find real quick if I just pop it right back in here. 0 equals 4 times A is 48 plus B. So that means B is just a -48. So I have my A, B, and C. So if I put these three together for a final answer, it should look like Y equals 12x squared minus 48x plus 50. All right, so that one was a super random case, and I'm pretty sure on your test it's not a weird one. No, it is not a weird one. It's just a normal one with normal numbers. So, did you guys get that for number 24? So let me do 23 because 23 is going to be much more similar to what you see on the test tomorrow. So let's get one where they don't actually match up so nicely. So the points are 8, -2, 4, 30, and 7, -6. Okay, there they are. So I'm gonna do my shortcut to get to my 3. So I'd have -2 equals A squared would be 64A plus 8B plus C. So there's 1. Then I'd have 30 equals 16A plus 4B plus C. And then I'd have -6, 49A plus 7B plus C. All right, so there are my 3. Now I'm going to take, I look for a pair of opposites. I don't have one. I'll take the top one just as it is. And I'm going to take the second one times the negative 1. So that's a negative 30, negative 16a minus 4b minus c. C's cancel, negative 32. What's up? This is when you have to write the equation of a parabola given 3 random points. So this is number 23. Yeah, okay. So there's my first one. I know I can divide everything by 4, but I'm just gonna wait 1 second because I want to see what my other start equation looks like. So I have to use my third equation. Negative 6 equals 49a plus 7b plus c. And then the middle one times the negative 1. So second times negative 1. Negative 30, negative 16a minus 4b minus c. Okay, negative 36, 49 minus 16 is 3. Plus 3b, the c's are gone. Okay, so if I look at my 2 new equations, nobody's a pair of opposites right now. So why don't I divide this one by 4 and divide this one by negative 3, and that'll get me the b's to be opposite. So divide you by 4, I get negative 8, 12a plus b. I'm going to divide this one by negative 3. So that's now a positive 12, negative 11a minus b. And see how my b's are going to cancel? So let me just rewrite this one underneath. 12, negative 11a minus b. B's are gone. I get 4 equals a. Hooray! I have my first of 3. So I know that a is 4. To find b, I'm just going to plug it right back in here. So negative 44 minus b, add the 44 over. What's 12 and 44? 56? 56 equals negative b, so b is a negative 56. All right, cool, got that one. And then C, I just take both of those answers for A and B and go back to one of my originals. I will pick the top one because it's not so bad. Negative 2 equals 64 times A is 4. Plus 8 times B is a negative 56 plus C. So I will have my calculator do this for me. 4 times 4 is 256. 8 times 56 is 448. 256 minus the 448 is negative 192. Add that 192 over. So wouldn't that just be a positive 190? Hooray! I have my 3 numbers. Put them all together. A is 4. B is negative 56. And C is 190.
Like when the numbers are big, it scares me.
Don't be scared.
I feel like I do.
As long as they come out, no decimals, no fractions. That's a good sign. Okay, so that was 24. And then what's next? We got 27. Oh, 27, easy peasy. Because all you have to do on 27 is what? If I want to rewrite this thing in standard form, how do I do that? Yeah, you just literally FOIL this. X minus 7 times x minus 7. And then I'm going to minus the 10. So I'll just FOIL x squared minus 7 is a minus 14. X plus 49 minus 10. So x squared minus 14x plus 39. That's it. That was easy. And then 30. Did you do 30? I hope so. Did you get it? Does anybody have an answer? Sum of 2 numbers is 106. The product is 2,640. What is your answer?
Numbers were 40 and 66.
40 and 66. I don't know what the answers are, but those sound right to me. Yeah? I mean, they certainly have a sum of 106, and if I multiply them, I'm sure I'm gonna get that 2640. So let's see how to arrive there. We're gonna have X be one number. Hello,
Sorry.
no, come on in.
Yeah.
No, please, you are welcome anytime, my friend. All right, so the sum of my two numbers is 106. The product of the numbers is 2,640. So there are our two equations. Is that okay for everybody? Could you set that up? Just like that, easy peasy? Now it's just a matter of you solving this. So it's a system. I would solve by elimination. Maybe I minus the y from both sides. So you get 106 minus y. Take this whole chunk, stick it in over here. So I've got 106 minus y times y equals 2640. Multiply that through 106y minus y squared, 2640. It's a quadratic. Let's move it all to one side. So I'm going to have 0 equals y squared minus 106y plus 2640. Now, maybe I can factor this, maybe I can't. I only will spend like a minute or so trying to find the factors. I mean, I know what the answers are now, so it's going to be kind of easy, but I'm going to try and pretend like I don't know what they are. So I take 2640. I don't know. I'll divide by 20. Let me see what that gets me. 20 and 132. I'm trying to get to 106. But what do I have to be? They're both going to be negative. Yeah, they're both going to be negative. So I have a sum of 152 right now. So I know I need to bring that sum down. So maybe I try, okay, let's try 2640. Then maybe I would divide by 40. Oh, 40 and 66. What do you know? Yep.
The test is supposed to be tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Do we have advisory though?
You only lose like 10 minutes. I'm not worried because I'm not answering any questions tomorrow either. Since I'm answering them all right now. So don't come in tomorrow and think, oh, she's going to review everything for us. Yeah, that's what I'm doing today, you silly goose. All right, so my two answers end up being 66 and 40. So those are two possibilities for y though, right? So if y is 66, that means x would be 40. But on the flip side, if y were 40, then x would just be 66. So you could just tell me the two numbers have to be 40 and 66. Does that make sense? Okay, my friends, that is everything that was on the homework. Are there any others as you're flipping through that maybe we didn't talk about that you're like, I wouldn't even know where to begin with that? No, we're all feeling okay-ish? Yeah,
Do you have ibuprofen or Advil?
I don't. And even if I did, I couldn't give it to you. But if you want to go to the nurse, I can make you a pass.
I went to the bathroom.
Yeah. Angelina.
Are the geometric formula blood tests? Oh, same.
It's also, let me just say this, your test is literally this. I just hit, give me new numbers to make this sheet.
Thanks for remembering about my dad.
Yeah.
Would you like 25 or 26?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, what's the best?
I can't believe you waited this long. But yes. Okay, so there was a question for either 25 or 26. Let's see. Let's do 25. That one has is a little bit more interesting. So we have to write the equation of the parabola. We're going to write it in vertex form because that's 10,000 times easier. So here's vertex form, a times x minus h squared plus k. So remember, all I need are a, h, and k. This is even easier than the one that we did on the number 21 because I can look at the graph and I know what a is. I don't have to solve for it. So I actually already know all of these numbers just by looking at the graph. So let's start with the vertex. Where is that? Yeah, so my vertex is 0, -8. So there's H and there's K. What's A? Yeah, it's 2. How do we know? Because normally from the vertex, I go up 1 over 1. This one has gone up 2 over 1 to get to the next point, right? So A has to be 2 in this case. So all I have to do are, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that was off. You guys never tell me. I'm just gonna plug in A, H, and K into this, and I'll have it. So A is 2, X minus 0, so I can just leave it as X, right? And then K is just a minus 8. I don't care. You can have it or not have it, no big deal. Let me just do a quick scan. Oh, actually, I take that back. Your test is not exactly like this because there's fewer problems. So I took some off. Total? 23. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the answer key for all of this on Jupyter right now, so you can check whatever you need. Are there any others that anybody needs right now? Yeah.
How much is each question gonna be worth?
Oh, I don't know. And it's gonna change. Like if it's a easy problem, it's less.
It's a good
Yeah.
one.
So you want us like do at least 4 problems?
You know, like the thing.
Yeah, so and it explains it all in that section. So there's only 8 of them total.
Let's just do 4 the way that.
4, yeah, you have to do 1 in each of the 4
Well, I'll
ways.
tell you which one it wants to do.
No, you get to pick.
Oh,
I give you, I list out what the 4 are.
also you'll see by the work we show. that-
Correct,
okay.
right.
Oh, it doesn't. I like that.
Does anybody have another one that they want me to do out? While we have the video rolling, any last ones for the, surprised no one's asked about 29. Were you? Okay. Now, if you're comfortable with 29 and you'd rather work on some other ones, that's fine. You could kind of tune me out for a moment. But let me do 29 for you real quick. So first things first. I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't gonna say it because I'm like, watch, they don't even know who Iggy Azalea is. Who knows? Well, I'm still like shocked that you guys don't know Sean Paul. See? How do you guys not know who Sean Paul is? Sean Paul? Yeah.
I have to, now you're making me feel bad.
Anyway, so here is what are we doing? Here's the thing. I just switched it so it's in standard form, right? Because I don't want to get messed up later, use the wrong thing here or there. So how high is the ball after 1 second? That's easy peasy. All I gotta do is plug in 1 for t. So that's just -16 plus 96. So was it 80? And we're in feet, I believe.
Wait, it's Sean Paul?
Yeah, Sean Paul.
Yeah, I know him.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, how could you guys not know?
Yeah, I know this song.
We don't know what he's saying, but we
Yeah.
love him.
Like this song. This song. Yeah, I love this song. Right?
I told you, you knew
Is that a
this.
song?
Huh?
Yeah. Oh, this is a hype song.
Right? That was my mid-2000s life.
Wait, is that the person you were just talking about?
Yes.
She was talking about it the other day because we asked her like what her favorite
Because I found my old flip phone and it turned on. So we were talking about what was on there. Not that it helped music, but anyway, all right. So 80 feet for that one. Part B, they want to know the maximum height of the ball. Where would I find that information from?
I know this one too. Jake, that thing is.
It's the Y coordinate.
Thank you. The Y coordinate of the vertex. Remember, the vertex is always going to be x comma y, and x is the time. So don't give me the x coordinate, you need the y. But in order to find the y coordinate, I need to find the x first. So I gotta do negative b over 2a, friends. Anytime you see maximum, that's your clue. Hey, you gotta find the vertex. So negative b is gonna be a negative 96 over 2a is gonna be a negative 32. That's just a positive 3. But remember, it's 3 comma something. Now take 3, pop it back in the original, and let me have my calculator tell me what that is. I got 144. So that means that the maximum height of the ball is right there, 144 feet. That's what I'm looking for. And then the last one asks, after how many seconds will the ball hit the ground? You kind of already know the answer because we got lucky here.
Don't you just like, don't you factor it?
Yeah, so we
Because,
have,
When it's 0.
yes, the height's going to be 0 when it hits the ground. So you can just factor this, right? I can factor out a negative 16t. And that would leave me with t minus 96 divided by 16 is 6. So one of my answers is 0 from that, and my other answer is 6 from that. So this ball will be 0 feet above the ground at t equals 0 seconds and 6 seconds, which makes sense because 0 seconds is when it launches. So I'm not going to give that answer because that's not what it's looking for. It's going to hit the ground after 6 seconds. And there it is. Adam, you got another one?
No, are you going to like want a second? So those seconds for our answers?
I mean, I would like that. If you forget it, it's not such a big deal. Are there any others that you're seeing right now that you're like, ooh, I really have no idea? Keep in mind, so tomorrow, I'm not answering questions. I'm answering them today. So when you come in, even if you want to start before the bell rings, you can. So if you want to make up for the time that we're going to lose for, whatchamacallit, advisory.
Wait, what's this one called?
Anything right now? Everybody's okay-ish? All right, so I am going to go post the answers to this. I will obviously answer any other questions you have, this block, right? So let's do that then.
This is like, there's a bigger test, you don't do Sean Connor.
Yes.
Translate to Spanish and listen to
Let us do surveys. I
Whoa.
started thinking.
Sometimes.